features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
We have just found a very prehistoric reptile hanging onto a tree this very early morning. Welcome, this is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning everyone and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron and on camera with me this morning is Jandre. You would have seen Taylor probably already doing the pre-show drive. She's with VM. Stef will be heading out on our walk later with Craig. Then the ladies in the FC, we have Rebecca and Louise. And then a special morning today because it is our friend Zonda Eggsy Foster's birthday. So Eggsy, a very, very happy birthday from all of us. Hope you have an amazing day. Maybe one of the girls will bake you a cake. Now, we have just found a little chameleon. And I always get very excited when we do find a chameleon, because it's not always easy to spot them. And it is just there. Can you see it? Can you see it? There it is. Now don't forget, everyone, we are going to be changing our times from the 1st of April. It's not an April Fool's joke. We are going to be heading out a half an hour later in the mornings. So that means we will be starting at 6 o'clock, it's at Central African time. In the morning, 6 a.m. and then in the afternoons we will be going out half an hour earlier. So 3:30 in the afternoon. So just remember that time change is going to be happening from the 1st of April. Don't forget to send us your questions and your comments. Hashtag Safari Live if you want to send us anything. It's always great hearing from our viewers and hopefully answering your questions, and you can learn a bit along the way. It's a beautiful cool morning. It's about 23 degrees Celsius, or about 74 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice cool morning. It's a bit cloudy at the moment, but it's still very dark. We probably wouldn't even be able to show them to you. Now I'm going to leave this little chameleon. What a nice little start though, the flap-necked chameleon. And it's always great to find one of those. Now I'm going to continue, still working out what my plan for today is going to be. I'd like to think we're going to try and look for leopard, but who knows, things change. So I'm going to give it some more thought, but while I do that, let's head over to Taylor so she can say good morning.
Good morning everybody, and of course again welcome to Safari Live. My name is Taylor and on camera with me today is VM, and we, unlike Byron, are not searching for leopards. We will be searching for lions, and hopefully we will pick up on the Styx Pride as well as Nsuku, who was the Birmingham that's been following the Styx Pride around and mating with one of the lionesses. So that's quite exciting, and I'm really hoping they're still around that airstrip. Remember yesterday that lioness with the cubs was looking very thin and very hungry, so hopefully her temptations took over and she went on the hunt last night. Would have been good conditions. But if you have just tuned in and you're a little bit unsure as to what Safari Live is all about, we'll take you on a virtual safari. Well, not for us, for you it is. And it's interactive, so you can ask any questions that you like, and you can do that by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter. And those will be sent through to us. So start thinking of some good ones. Maybe you've got something that you'd like to discuss today as we drive around searching for these animals. You can let us know. Now, David, good morning to you. Well, good morning here. I might be saying good night to you or good evening. You're wondering what is the most impressive animal I've seen in the dark. That's a good question. The most impressive. I'm going to have to say, not here though. Does it have to be an animal here? Because if it does, then I'm stuck. I'm going to say an aardwolf, which is, it looks like a miniature hyena crossed with a German shepherd. That's exactly what an aardwolf looks like. It's a funny looking thing. They're really quite beautiful, but they feed on termites. So I have never seen one up here before. I don't think they're quite common. Sort of like the caracals, which is a smaller cat species, which we saw the other evening very, very briefly. I think that has to be the most impressive animal I have ever seen in the darkness. Otherwise, chameleons are always quite fancy. Don't know if you can call them fancy, but they always look like they're dressed up for something, got their best attire on and ready to go. Everything's really cool out here. Something else that's quite nice to see, and it may sound a little bit silly, is a water thickney when they're out on the road, or a spotted thickney. The thickneys tend to, I don't know why, they tend to get quite nervous at night. And often, what will happen is when they are on the road, when you put the spotlight across them, they open up their wings, and to see that striking pattern that they have on the inside of their wings when the light hits it from the spotlight is actually a bit, takes you back a little bit, makes you take your breath away. So that's quite cool to see. That's really nice. Let's carry on. Let's go up ahead. Sorry, I wanted to do an action and I can't multitask, as I'm fearing for VM's life that he is going to be thrown off of the car. Right, so now we're going to go back across to Byron. We're going to keep racing towards the Arathusa airstrip, but let's go and find out what, well, is the most spectacular creature Byron has seen at night.
Right, well, Taylor, and David, thank you for that question. I'm not sure. I've been trying to rack my brain now to think about it. I think, well, one of the most impressive and prehistoric I think I've seen would be a pangolin. But I've been very fortunate that I've seen pangolin at night and during the day. But definitely a pangolin is up there, also because they are so rare and you don't see them very often. So I would say a pangolin. Trying to think if there's anything else. The thick-tailed bush baby. Yeah, I've got a few actually. I've got a few, David, so it's a great question. The thick-tailed bush baby, because they are massive, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen a thick-tailed bush baby, but it's huge. I mean, you know those little bush babies that we often see, the lesser bush babies, only about this big. Very tiny little bush baby, incredibly agile, jumps around. Now the thick-tailed bush baby, or greater Galago, is about this size, very, very large, thick, bushy animal, or fluffy, I suppose you could say. Very, very cute. But I've only seen, I think, 3 or 4, and they are around. We do get them here. I saw one here in January, in fact, close to the camp. But unfortunately, we weren't on camera. So those are very interesting to see. And then something else I saw, which I'll have to show you a picture of, because I doubt any of you have heard of it, never mind seen it. It's called a striped polecat. Now, it basically, some of you might think, well, it looks like a skunk. Now, they do have a chemical defense, not quite as bad as a skunk, but we do not get skunks here. But we do indeed get the striped polecat. There we go. That's that little guy over there. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? I've been fortunate enough to see one of those. 2 of those actually. And that is a striped polecat. They are in fact related to honey badgers and a striped weasel, which we also do get out in Africa, in southern Africa especially. But they do secrete a chemical defense, but nothing like a skunk. Nothing like a skunk. So those would be my animals, my strange and wonderful and interesting animals that I've seen at night. So I am going to be looking for leopard this morning. I've decided it feels like a leopard day, and I'm heading towards Twin Dams area because I think that we might have luck. I'm hoping that we might have luck with a young leopard there, perhaps, maybe one of Karula's cubs, Hosanna or Shungile. We'll see if we can find one of those beautiful leopards. Any leopard though, it would be wonderful to see. Aaron. Good morning to you. Aaron, a favorite animal call at night? Well, there are a few bird species that I really love hearing, and they just, to me, it's the perfect bush call, the epitome of a bush call. And the one is the fiery-necked nightjar. Obviously, that is an amazing call. It's got that beautiful... It sounds exactly like that. Then the scops owl is a bird that I really love hearing. It's grr, grr, grr. That's a wonderful little scops owl. And then the pearl spotted owl. It's got that beautiful whistling call. Also sounds exactly like that, no different. What do you think, Jean-Andre?
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. Sheesh, tough crowd this morning. But Aaron, those are the, I'd say, 3 calls at night. Okay, I mean, if obviously lion and hyena are amazing to hear at night too. If you think about animals, nothing like a lion roar in the dark of the night. So yeah, oh, hang on, oh, it's a nightjar sitting just perched on that little branch. Let's see if it sits there for you to see. And there it goes, beautiful nightjar. So Aaron, yeah, I mean, lion and a hyena at night are amazing to hear, especially if they're close to camp. But those calls that you hear very regularly are those 3 bird calls that I gave you, and that for me is just a wonderful sound. When you're sitting around a fire at night, if it's very quiet, you'll hear a lot of those birds calling. Just going to go through a dip here quickly. Donald, you want to know, is there anything that I've found at night that has literally scared me out of my boots? James Henry's pretty scary at night if you bump into him, actually. Don't tell him I said that. No, yes, actually, I've walked into a buffalo at night once, and when I say walked into a buffalo, I almost bumped him. That's how close we were. Myself and my friend Duncan, we were walking back from camp one evening, heading back to our rooms, and we came around a corner, and this buffalo was standing right then. Because it was so dark, we couldn't see it, and it moved, but I mean, when I say it was right in front of us, it was right in front of us, and we both gave a little screech and jumped and just ran in opposite directions to get away from this buffalo. And the buffalo just stood there chewing its cud. It didn't worry about us at all, surprisingly. But yeah, that was, I got a big fright at night. Walking into a buffalo, that's not ideal. So yes, definitely. Other than that, we walk into hyena often. Hyena often come into camps, wherever you might be, and so. But if you, I've had a hyena run through bomas twice on 2 occasions. So the boma is where we usually have our dinners around a fire, and I've had hyena running straight through there with the guests sitting around the fire having their dinner. Now that gives some people quite a fright, but luckily they just ran through. Anyway, I'm going to have a look around this area for a leopard. While I do that, let's head over to Taylor. She's on Arathusa.
We are indeed on Arathusa. We're on Safari Link at the moment, heading towards the airstrip. Now, I tried to have a chat with the guides, but I don't know, they're not really responding, so they probably can't hear me. very well. So we'll just head straight onto the airstrip and see if we can pick up any tracks. So far, I have not seen one predator track, not even a hyena track this morning, which is unusual. So I wonder what all the animals have been up to. Late last night, they must have been maybe not so busy. Maybe they just took the evening off and decided to stay in instead. I'm just going to check here very carefully. The sand is really good down here. It's nice and soft, so it makes tracking quite easy. If anything has walked around here, we will most certainly see the footprints. However, trying to spot it in some of this long grass and all these guarri and silver cluster leaf trees might be a different story, but that's where the spotlight actually comes in handy. I think it's easier to spot animals at night with the long grass than it is to try and spot them during the day, because at least with the spotlight, if there is another color or another pattern, it is often illuminated. Or if eye shine, you can see through the grass too. So the spotlight actually works in your favor in these early mornings. So it's not always a bad thing. Yes, you may be missing tracks, but even if an animal leaves tracks on the ground, it doesn't mean that we'll always be able to follow them and find them in the end. So sometimes a little helping hand is actually really a nice little treat. We're almost at the airstrip now. I think I've just seen the windsock, which is a good sign. It means that we're not far. Now, this is where the search starts. I also don't know where they left the lions last night. I don't know if they left them in the same spot. They most certainly haven't come this way. Let's just go out into the open, have a quick scan. It's a bit dark, so you're not going to be able to see the impala and the wildebeest very nicely. Not yet. There is a wildebeest, there is some impala. They don't seem to be too startled at the moment. I can see jackals on the airstrip. Let's go have a look at the jackals. Oh, they're quite far away. We might have to go all the way around. I can also see, I think I can see the lions actually. Let's see. Jackals running on the right, quite far away, and I think that that is indeed a lion. Yes. Yes, is it lions? I can't see. Come on, spotlight. It is lions, I think. No, it's impala. Ah, that's disappointing. Oh. Okay, we'll go for the jackals then. Let's quickly do a quick loop around. Oh, I got so excited with the spotlight, and the one termite mound with some eyes behind it made it look like a lion sitting all sprawled out. This, I think, was where the lions were yesterday. Let's go in and poke our noses and just have a quick look around. Now, I haven't seen any tracks leading in or leading out. Just triple check here. I can't see any footprints on the ground, which means that either they moved late last night and there were a couple of vehicles moving around with them, which then would have covered the tracks. We will have to get hold of the guards. I can hear them starting to chat again. Okay, so they're not here. Okay, that's alright. The lions are not here, but we've got some jackals. It's just going to take us a little while. We've got to go all the way around the airstrip. Now, Jacqueline, you were wondering if the Birmingham boys were to split and meet up again a couple years later, would they recognize each other or would they fight? I think that they would recognize each other. I don't think that they would fight at all. They've got such a strong bond. Remember, they haven't just developed this bond. The Birmingham boys have come from the same pride, not necessarily from the same mothers, but they left at the same time. So they've been building and working on that relationship between each of the boys for many years now, and I don't think that they will just forget. So I'm pretty certain that they'll remember each other, but I don't think that that will happen. I think it's a silly move, particularly with the large area that the Birminghams sort of cover and include in their territory. I think if they were to split up, it would be a very silly move. It's good to see constant rotation. We're glad to see that we're seeing Nsuku so far down west. Normally we hardly see him, and I think I've only ever seen him once prior to this, and I've been here for 7 months now, almost 8 months, which is ridiculous. So to be losing them. I want them all to stay together. I'd like to see Nana. If anything, I think the lion that I'd like to see today would have to be Nana. He's my favorite Birmingham. He is so beautiful. But then I also quite like him for more. I like his attitude. They really, really are nice lions. There's not a single track of these cats. Like I said, I'm yet to see a hyena track this morning. That's bizarre. That is absolute madness. Lots of elephant footprints around. Okay. We're going to keep checking here. We're on the boundary. Maybe they've crossed out and just walked via an animal pathway. Let's jump back onto Byron's vehicle while I make my way towards those jackals.
So I hope Taylor has some luck with those lions. It would be great to see them again. Those little Styx cubs are very, very cute. I haven't had any luck yet with the leopard though. No tracks or anything just yet. I've checked around the twin dams, but I'm going to head towards another dam and look around there. So we'll see. It's now getting to that stage where I always call it the awkward light, because it's not quite dark enough for the spotlight, and it's not quite bright enough that we don't need it. So it's a little tricky. But it should, we'll see. Sounds like some of the other guides are getting out on drive now. Mandy, so one of the animals I wish I could see that I haven't seen yet is the animal that Taylor actually saw the other day, the caracal. I've never seen a caracal in the wild ever. I don't think I've even seen one in a zoo. I've never seen a caracal, a live one at least. So that is definitely on my list, on my bucket list. That is an animal I would love to see. I've been very fortunate that I've seen other rare animals that people don't often get to see in South Africa, like the aardvark, the pangolin, the aardwolf. I've seen all of those. So it would be great to see a caracal. That is something I would really like to see. And then one day when I'm big and I'd like to travel and go and see the snow leopards. That would be amazing. That would really be amazing. And possibly the jaguars in the Pantanal. Still that cacophony of monotonous larks calling around us at the moment. Every time we stop you'll probably hear them, but a lot of monotonous larks around. I think Tristan and VM were trying to take bets when they thought they would leave or stop calling. I'm not sure when that is going to happen. It's times like this that I hope we bump into something just walking along the road. You know, the grass is very long at the moment, and for a lot of these animals it's easier to walk along the road. And we've seen tracks, we've seen leopard tracks, we've seen lion tracks regularly, but just we haven't been able to find them yet. Now it sounds like Taylor caught up with those jackals. That's great. Let's go have a look.
Oh, hello. Sorry, we lost comms there for a second. VM, we are live. For we have indeed repositioned around and located the side-striped jackal family, which you saw with Tristan, and had that amazing interaction between the impala, which is, well, something very, very special, because normally young impala fall on the menu, of course, of jackals. Should we go up to those ones? What do you think, VM? Those ones, this one is sitting down in the grass, not doing too much, and the others have sort of dashed off in the distance. Oh no, this one is now running. We follow it. I'll try and drive slowly. Look at that beautiful gate. Now jackals are really funny. I don't know how often I've actually seen a jackal walking. They always seem to be on the move, whether they're trotting or racing off. That's normally how you see jackals, as they made a full sprint. There we go. That super sensitive nose, even as it darts away, can't help itself but smelt something. Just going to get up a little bit further so we can get in line with the other jackals. So we'll just drive very slowly like this. Isn't that cool though? That looks like it's maybe one of the adults. It doesn't look particularly small. I wonder if those aren't the two juveniles on the other side, because they seem to be running away. But how beautiful is this? Now, my favorite jackal, I'm a bit biased. I prefer the black-backed jackal. The side-striped jackals are beautiful too. They almost look like foxes again. I like to use the analogy that animals have been on the wash when they've got faded colors, and that's exactly what a side-striped jackal looks like. You can actually not very clearly see the stripe on this one, but it also looks like it hasn't had a good groom. Yes, there we go. You can see the stripe quite nicely on this side. So I think what's happened is this dog has, not this dog, this is not a dog. I'm missing home, obviously, now that I'm talking about dogs. I think this one hasn't had a good groom, and its coat is a bit messy, but running back in the opposite direction. I think it's going straight back to where it stuck its nose in the ground. Perhaps it can smell or sense that there's a mole or something, or a rodent of some sort moving around there. Maybe a mongoose. Where are you going? Very busy. Now apparently there are 4 side-striped jackals here. Rebecca, we're not getting the greatest communication with you for some reason. It's very jumpy, and I don't know, I think you asked me a question, but I'm a little bit uncertain. Let me go forward here. Sorry, VM. Right. I'm just going to quickly change radio stations. Okay, Rebecca, I am on channel 7. I think VM will go on to channel 7 in a moment. But there's lots of action here. That's wonderful. Now, Liz, you're wondering, what will jackal gain by hanging around impala? Well, Liz, down in the Eastern Cape, it's a huge problem, and I've spoken about this a couple of times. But jackals are a huge pest, not in my eyes, and I know not in your eyes either, but to the farmers of South Africa. And they're often taking down young animals, so impala being one of them. So I was really surprised to see that interaction. I think what had happened there is perhaps it was because it was a big ram. He felt as though he doesn't fall on the prey sort of item list of things that jackals like to eat the young impala. This light's actually not even helping. But for instance, he's so big, he was obviously quite curious, and I've seen it before, for instance, where impala rams actually move closer towards lions as they're walking past them, not necessarily stalking them. So that's really, I think, what happened there, that impala was just investigating and decided to take a little bit of a gamble and actually come quite close, which worked out in his favor. I wonder if he's ever been so close to a jackal before, if he went off and he was bragging to his mates, and look what I did. Normally, I've actually also seen blesbok, which is another antelope, chasing jackal around, so that sometimes happens. The impala will do the same thing. I've also seen an impala ewe with her youngster, and she was chasing off a jackal that was harassing her. And listen, even though a female impala doesn't have any horns, I can tell you right now a headbutt from her wouldn't be too pleasant. But yeah, now they're going to sleep. And it's a pity, because normally they're quite active at this time. Both of them have ducked their heads into the ground. This is the best time to go out hunting. It's just before everything is going to start to get a little bit active. Right. It's a bit dark. See, this period of the morning, especially with all the clouds that we've got, we haven't even seen the sunrise just yet. So it's a very awkward light. So I reckon in the next 10 to 15 minutes it's going to get a little bit better. Also, oh my goodness, I'm getting distracted. I've forgotten to tell you some very important information. So it seems as though the lions were on the airstrip last night. They were left here. So I'm going to do some scanning up and down. But Byron has managed to find the first big mammal this morning.
have a look at these elephant, everyone. This is great. Okay, copy. Thanks, Aubrey. I'll radio you. I'm going to try to get there quickly. So I'm just chatting to some other guys. Nice to see these elephant. Now, I'm actually not going to stick around with these elephant for too long, because I've just had an update. Somebody has found a male leopard, but he is on our boundary, and I'm going to try get there as quickly as possible. Sorry. Don't like to upset the elephant, and it's just when the vehicle starts. But this female's okay. As long as they carry on feeding, they're fine. Then she settled down again. It's just the starting of the vehicle. That's what I said to you before. It's so important to switch the vehicle off if you are closer to any animal, not just elephant, but switch the vehicle off. The vehicles do make a noise. Still, you were wondering why I switched the vehicle off. I know some people, their instincts are to keep the vehicle running in case the elephant turn and walk towards them, or potentially charge. They want to get out quickly, but the sound of the vehicle actually just makes it worse, makes the situation worse. So the best thing to do is just switch the vehicle off. As we came down that little dip, those elephants were right next to the road, and we saw them literally as we came in. So the first thing I did was switch the vehicle off, and they settled down. They were a little bit agitated because I came down there quite quickly, but as soon as I switched off, they calmed down, and that female walked right past in front of us and carried on feeding. And then when I started again, you could see she got a little bit of a fright, but then just moved past slowly. The worst thing you can do is rev the vehicle, make a lot of noise and dust and smoke, and try and get away from them quickly. That just aggravates them even more. So like I said, there's a leopard that is on our boundary. It's on the northern boundary. It sounds like a big male. I'm not sure who it is yet. I'm trying to get there as quickly as possible, and we'll see who it is. That would be great. Now, while I race towards the northern boundary, my friend Stef is out on bushwalk. Let's go and have a look what his plans are for today.
Good morning to the bushwalk, and it is a fantastic morning this morning. Overcast and cloudy with a little bit of a breeze. It's always the best way to start a walk, I must be honest with you. My name is Stef from Winterboer. On camera today we have Craig, and we've come onto quarantine clearings, and I'm looking around because infusing the air around us right now is the smell of a musk bull elephant. Now, for those of you who've been watching for a bit, you'll know that from time to time, in particular this time of the year, when the breeding herds are around, we do find musk bull elephants hanging around Djuma. And what that is an elephant bull a couple of times a year, or one prolonged time, up to 150 days or so, goes into this musk period where they have about a 70% increase in the testosterone levels in their body. This, of course, makes all their glands work overtime, and they get a secretion that comes out of their penile sheath and dribbles onto the floor, and it's absolutely the most pungent smell you've ever smelled in your life. It's this sickly sweet smell, and for me produces a lot of saliva in my mouth, to be quite honest with you. I don't like the smell at all. So somewhere here an elephant bull crossed last night. The wind that is coming off of quarantine clearance is blowing across the trail that he left on the floor, and that's what we're picking up at the moment. Now, these bulls can be quite edgy because of this testosterone increase in their body, and it's always a good idea to keep tabs on where they go or what they're about. Now, for female elephants, this smell is irresistible, and it has been shown that these musk bull elephants are far more attractive to female elephant than what bulls not in musk are. It also creates the situation where bulls not in musk will leave the area alone, and so only the biggest, best prime bulls in musk will be the ones that actually compete for the favors of the females, so to say, and they will be marching from one breeding herd to another, testing the female's urine. That's how they test for hormone levels. They can taste that, believe it or not, and pheromones in the air, and they'll be able to test and taste whether or not that female elephant is about to ovulate and therefore be more prone to falling pregnant. Now, I know it sounds all a bit scientific and a bit weird and cold, but that's exactly what drives bull elephant out here, especially bull elephant above 35 years of age to about 55 years of age, and that's what I'm expecting to find somewhere around here. So hopefully we get to show him to you, or if we don't, find something else exciting through the rest of the walk. Now, we are going to be sending you over to Taylor for an update. We're going to be marching our heads into the wind and see if we can find this elephant for you.
We've just come back. I did a very quick loop around the airstrip just to check all the roads leading out to see if I can find any tracks. But unfortunately, there are no tracks whatsoever of these lions. But we pop back past the jackals again. Let's see if it gets a bit too light now for these lights to really help. But they are just having a good groom, cleaning themselves up now, sorting those coats out, making sure that they are spick and span. This is a very grumpy jackal. I have not seen it put its ears forward once. It looks very much upset. But they're beautiful. Look at their lovely long tails. They are lovely creatures, the jackals. And of course, some of you might think that they look very much like foxes, and they do. They've got exactly the same shaped face. And they behave very much like small dogs too. Very similar behavior. Now, Anthony, you're wondering if jackals are related to any wolf species. It's a good question, Anthony. I'm actually not 100% certain on that. I have a big mammals book here, so we'll do some digging and see if they mention the ancestors of the jackals. But they really, really are amazing creatures, and they are such specialists in what they do out here in the bush. They have a very varied role, I suppose, as well, but they're so good at like little bits of everything. So they're great at scavenging. We've seen jackals feeding on a buffalo carcass while lions are feeding on a carcass. That is actually quite a common sight, which I think is amazing because there's not too many animals that are brave enough or sneaky enough to be able to grab a couple of mouthfuls of food, but then being able to vary their diet. They don't just have to feed on rodents and hares and things either. They can go after that. But they will also, of course, what they will do is that they will also, of course, go off and eat fruit in the winter months. So in winter, when the jackal berries fall off of the tree, they'll feed on those. They'll eat the guaris, the little guari fruits, and everything. The only thing I haven't really seen them eat before was marulas, but I think it could be quite difficult for a jackal to eat a marula just because there's such a big stone, and it's very difficult, of course, for them to pull the flesh off. So I don't think that they eat those, but everything else they will munch on. Now, Pradeep, you're wondering if jackals ever hunt their own prey. They do indeed. And it's one of my favorite things to watch. And if you were watching the other night on the sunset safari, I think it was about 2 or 3 evenings ago, we had a black-backed jackal on Cheetah Plains bouncing about through the very long grass, which was really entertaining to watch. And that's what they do. They stick their noses to the ground. They've got super keen scent. I reckon that their sense of smell is what they're relying on the most. Look how beautiful they are. And then they'll pick up movements or pick up a scent of, say, a mole or something underneath the ground, or perhaps a little bushveld gerbil or one of the mouse species. Even birds, they'll go after birds, and they'll move through that long grass and try and catch them. The thing I think I've seen jackals hunting the most has to be scrub hares. This is, of course, I saw a lot of this. I was very fortunate working down in the southeast coast of South Africa, because we had lions and we had leopards and things. The leopards were ones that were very difficult to spot. We had a beautiful lion pride. However, there was an abundance of smaller animals. So again, lots of caracal, lots of serval, aardvark, aardwolf, brown hyena. We saw all the really cool small things. So I spent quite a bit of time with them. And pretty much every single evening you would sit and you'd watch a pair of jackals go off on the hunt. I've seen jackals and their little ones. I've seen caracals and their little ones. And down there they used to love both the caracal, and the jackals would love snatching up the scrub hares. And also I've seen a jackal chasing after, this is the black-backed jackal of course, chasing after something called a spring hare, which is like, if I had to describe it, a mini kangaroo crossed with a rat. And if you'd like to pull up a picture of what a scrub hare looks like, they're quite funny. I've never seen one up here, but they make burrows in the ground and they bounce on their hind legs like little kangaroos really. But they also have quite a scary scream. And anyways, the jackal wasn't successful though, but it was really entertaining to watch it run after this thing bouncing through the long grass, and when it looked like the jackal was imitating it, it was also bouncing through the long grass. So small things like this, they provide such beautiful sightings, and particularly this lot, they're actually quite relaxed for side-striped jackals. Normally, when you see them, you just see their tail ends disappearing off into the long grass or underneath a shrub. I think living on the airstrip, you get quite accustomed to noise, aeroplanes landing all the time, lots of people talking and shouting about. We're not very quiet animals, and we as the human race make a lot of noise. So they're obviously quite used to us, which works perfectly for us, which is really, really great. And I think they're going to settle down for the day. They're obviously choosing their favorite sleeping spots. They're going to have to move because I don't think it's going to be a cool day. I think it's going to heat up. And then they'll just move out of this shortish grass and underneath a shaded tree. But they like to sit out in the open. Aren't they lovely? But they eat everything as well. They don't just eat mammals. They'll eat invertebrates. If there's an opportunity to munch on a tortoise. Something like a jackal, though, would struggle to break open the shell of a tortoise. But who knows? Maybe it was trodden on by something, an elephant, or a bird had tried to take it up to the sky and drop it and the shell was half cracked. It would then be able to do that as well as eating insects. And apparently some of you had a sighting of jackals eating millipedes before. Or was it? No, it was wild dogs eating millipedes, and then we were talking about if jackals would eat millipedes. I think so. I think if they were really, really hungry. Don't know about a centipede though. You never know. Jackals are sly. They might have a specialist killing technique on how to not get bitten by a centipede. And something that they do live together with, which I've noticed out here at their airstrip, is all the ground-dwelling birds. So from the blacksmith lapwings to the Senegal lapwings, crowned lapwings, all of those things, and they don't seem to mind the jackals too much. So perhaps they have an agreement that you leave my eggs alone and we will leave you alone. Right, we're moving on from these jackal now to search for those lions. Now Stef has got, well, something quite beautiful to show you in the morning light.
We do have, at this time of the year, I feel like we definitely need to celebrate the beauty of impala. They are probably the most numerous animal that we see around this time of the year, with everything else pretty much hidden by the grass and very widely dispersed across the Kruger National Park's expanse. Now, although this particular impala herd is very relaxed with us, then we're not going to be able to get any closer than this. This is about the maximum distance that we can get from this particular herd. This is the large herd of impala that inhabits the open area called quarantine clearings, which is very close to our close to where we stay, and of course we walk past them quite often, and because of that they are fairly habituated to us. Now let's move forward a little bit and see if we can show you something that's about to change. Now, this impala herd so far has been silent. They've had a few little murmurings, but nothing like we're about to see and about to enter in the next couple of weeks. Now, impala also go through a rutting season where male impala will also have an increase, or are busy having an increase in testosterone levels, very similar to that musk bull elephant that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Their rut sort of reaches a peak when the females ovulate, which happens around about the first full moon in May. So we've got another, I would say another 7 to 8 weeks of this gradually building frenzy that will happen. And what will precipitate out of this is all these small males that we will scan through here now and see will leave and will form these bachelor herds of impala, with the largest impala sticking with the females, and those positions will change. Now you can see, even now as we've been speaking, this small bachelor herd of impala has broken away from the main herd. That is these males starting to have their rivalries with one another, and it can be deadly. They can kill each other. But talking about deadly, and something that definitely eats impala, Byron has managed to find what he's been searching for.
Oh, look at this, everyone. We have indeed, we are so lucky. Oh, scent marking. Beautiful big male leopard. And he's walking around now. I'm not too sure. Why don't all of you have a look? See if you can tell me who you think this is. I think it's Tingana, but I'm not too sure. I haven't seen his face yet. He's been walking away from us. I am going to try get us into a better position so that we can see exactly who this male leopard is, but he is a big male. Beautiful dewlap, that throat, big thick throat. And he's been scent marking all along the road. Let's see if we can get around him a little bit. Leo, this area, I think we've probably got 3 or 4 large male leopards that are in this area. Tingana, Mvula, Quarantine, and I think there's 1 or 2 others. Just trying to get ahead quickly, see if I can get us a position. Hold on. There he comes, here he comes. I'm just going to pull off the road a bit here. Okay, have a look, everyone. He's going to... Oh, typical. But that's good. He's heading down onto our side. There he comes. Oh, that's great. It is so wonderful to be able to see a big tom like this and follow him. Can follow him. He's still saying
Right, I'm not sure what happened there, but apologies anyway. Sometimes these things happen out in the bush. Now, of course, we've just moved off from the airstrip. We have now spotted a whole lot of vultures. We'll try and get a gap over here where I can show you them. There's one. Let me just see, there's a group of them just sitting down there on the tops of the trees. I think the one that we just saw flying is heading that way there now. Now, they seem to be white-back vultures. Yes, they are. Goodness, that vulture came in quite quickly. Luckily, it didn't go any faster. Otherwise, I think the branch would have broke, and then both of them would have had to have flown away. Now, they don't look very full, so I think that they were just roosting here last night, so no need to sort of get too excited just yet. That's normally what happens, is these birds, when it's overcast, they can't catch the thermals. They have to sort of wait for the clouds to burn away, where they will then wake up and go off in search of food. But we haven't been seeing too many vultures. I know you had some with... oh, hang on. We have a question from Rebecca, the director, and Rebecca was wondering, do they sleep in different places every single night? Yeah, I'm sure they do. I don't think vultures at all have a specific favorite tree, because remember, these vultures can travel a massive distance. I remember reading an article quite some time ago about a vulture that they sort of tracked, and I'm pretty sure that within 24 hours it had flown from South Africa and into Botswana, which was quite amazing. So these birds move around constantly and quite literally, and I think Brent has said to you a couple of times that we could be looking at these vultures and they could have just done a journey from the northern end of Mozambique and could be here and now, which is quite amazing. So they do have to rest And when you're a vulture and you've got a massive wingspan like these guys do, particularly the white-backed vulture, you need to sit in a tree that doesn't have too much foliage around. So that's often why we see them sitting out on these beautiful dead trees, which make for the perfect perch. But let's carry on. I want to keep moving while we've still got the cooler weather before the sun comes out, because I know once that sun pierces through the clouds it's going to be exceptionally hot, and then our chances of finding cats on the move become less and less. So let's search here. This is one spot we haven't checked. Now, the lions were on the airstrip. I think probably quite close to where we had them yesterday near the quarry, just laying out last night. So we've checked sort of further south and west, nothing. And now we're just checking this eastern sector all the way back down towards Gowrie Main again to see if they didn't pop across this way. I wouldn't be surprised if those lions have left. They've been down this way for quite some time now, for a couple of days. And I've noticed with the Styx Pride, whenever they come down towards Arathusa, or if they happen to be on Djuma, they don't seem to hang around for too long. And I wonder if that's because the Tsalalas are often around, those, is it 2 lionesses with the 3 young boys, and then also the Nkuhumas. I'm not sure where they are. They could be in Simbambili, they could be in the north. I haven't really heard much about them. So there's a lot of lion activity at the moment in these small spaces. And especially when you've got young cubs, you don't want to be getting involved in any conflict. And it's not just the males that fight, the females will fight each other as well. So they need to keep a good distance and make sure that they don't become too complacent in the same spot. Now, Anthony, you're wondering if the lions, the male lions from religion would kill other animals, something along the... Can I have that question again, Rebecca? Sorry, I didn't get the whole thing. I'm just trying to put it together in my head now. No. So will the other males in the coalition will, of course, kill their brothers' cubs? No, not at all. These boys know the particular prides that they see. They see the Torchwood pride, they see the Tsalalas, and they see the Nkuhumas, and, of course, the Styx. Actually, I don't know if... No, not the Tsalalas. I've spoken absolute nonsense there. Just remove that from your memory, because those 3 young males are there, and if they get caught by the Birminghams, there's going to be a bit of trouble. So, sorry, take the Tsalalas out. It's the Styx, the Nkuhumas, and the Torchwood pride. And if any other lions come onto the property that they don't know and they have young cubs, they will then indeed remove those cubs from the pride. Will try their absolute best, but those girls can indeed fight back too. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to keep on searching, and then we're going to do a boundary patrol up at Gowrie Main just to double check. Maybe Karula or somebody's come back, but let's go to Bushwalk, who seems to be staring at a watering hole.
We definitely are staring at a watering hole, thank you very much. And I think it's a brilliant idea to go and have a boundary patrol and see what Karula's been up to. She's been gone for far too long. What we are having a look at is Vultures Dam. Now, for those of you who follow the dam cam, this is a fairly familiar sight, but what is unfamiliar is what you're having a look at there, and that is the white-faced face of the whistling duck, the white-faced whistling duck. You're now going to be growing over to the dam cam so that you can have a look at what everybody keeps on talking about if you do not follow the dam cam feed. And we're standing on top of the dam wall this morning, waving at you right now, saying hello. That action unfortunately chased away the white-faced duck that I was going to show you. But what has happened is they've flown a little bit away but not disappeared. This is my wife's favorite duck. They're called the whistling duck because they make the most beautiful whistle when they fly. And it's sort of atypical duck sound. There's definitely not a quack. It is more of a whistle. They are ducks that spend the winter time here, and so a fairly common duck that we see around, but nonetheless very, very beautiful for us. A bit far away for the zoom on this camera, unfortunately, but you can have a look at how much water has entered this pan. By no means full. We, in my opinion, need a lot more rain here to last throughout the dry season. I personally believe at least that this dam will dry up before October, but that's morbid. let's talk about the terrapin that I can see floating around over here. So in this patch is sorry, I'm just going to ask to repeat that. So I was busy thinking about this terrapin that I want to show you, and then I was caught off guard with an instruction there. So if you wouldn't mind just repeating that for me, Rebecca. There. Alright, so if you go and look over there, there's a moving branch, and while we search frantically just over this patch of vegetation for a moving head, there's a terrapin there. Well, why don't we stop doing that and talk a little bit more about the mating theme that we've embarked on this morning. So we started off by speaking about the elephant and basically how a bull elephant has a period in his life, in a year, in an annual cycle, where they'll have an increase in testosterone. It's called must, and it's similarly mirrored with impala. They have a rut, and male impala also have a testosterone increase, and it starts around about now. So we've got this huge herd of impala. We've got two that I know of. We've got the one on quarantine clearings, and then we've got another one on impala plains. And at the moment they are at their largest. They all together. But as we saw just before you went to go and have a look at that leopard with Byron, we saw the males are starting to separate out. The largest, strongest males in the impala herds at the moment are starting to weed out the smaller and the older impala. And what will eventually happen is, as they get so full of testosterone they don't know what to do with themselves, they chase away these herds of impala, these male impala, to form bachelor herds adjacent to the herds of females. Now the position of prime male will change often between now and when the mating happens, sometime around the first full moon in May, and it'll reach a point where these males are just fighting one another pretty much constantly for about 3 or 4 days. It's going to be a very, very small window. And so what I suggest is you keep a bird's eye view on these safaris over the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, because you're going to be seeing this rut develop into a frenzy, where now the monotonous lark's call are filling the air pretty much 24/7. By the time 7 weeks or 7 weeks from now, we're not going to have any more monotonous larks calling. All we're going to have is this funny, gargling, throaty roar from male impala infusing the night and the day 24/7. You're going to see these male impala actually stop eating. They get so full of energy, and they're wanting to prove themselves so badly to the ladies that they are the best genes for the new flock of baby impala, that they even forget to eat, which is a good time for the predators, because as you've noticed over the last couple of weeks, this end of summer glut of food for the herbivores and this very big dispersal that we've seen of all the herbivores has made it quite difficult for the lions and the leopard and the wild dog and the cheetah. And the very fact that we haven't seen as many of these predators around over the last couple of weeks is because they're having to move massive distances to find food. The last time that they had any easy food or easy meals was when the impala and the wildebeest and the zebra and the giraffe were having their babies at the beginning of summer. Those animals are now big, they're very healthy, they're eating a lot of food, they've got a lot of water, they're dispersed, they're very difficult to find. And the next time that these predators have a chance at eating any good food will be when the male impala are in their rut and so distracted that quite often leopard and lion are just picking off male impala that are rutting. Last year I remember quite clearly Karula running at male impala that were rutting. She'd run right into the area, these male impala would chase each other, she'd catch one, and quite often we found her on full-grown male impala, as well as quarantine and Kunuma, which are two of Karula's older cubs. So a few more weeks of them holding on to whatever they can find, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot more leopard going into the rut. So keep watching this rut story. It's going to be an interesting saga over the next couple of weeks. Another interesting saga is the fact that Taylor has managed to get all the way to Arathusa, and she's got something to show you over there.
We're actually just leaving Arathusa. We changed radio stations, and then we had to come back onto Arathusa again because I spotted this beautiful big bull who is just in front of us. And I think that he is going after a breeding herd, because as he walks you'll see that there's lots of debris on the floor, lots of other elephant tracks too. I think he's trying to track them down. You can see that. That looks like it was all from either late last night or quite early this morning. But he's not a massive bull. We've definitely seen much bigger, but he is beautiful nonetheless. And which is really nice for us is that he's not in must, which is exciting because every other elephant bull that we seem to come across at the moment is in must. But let's tail him. Let's see where he's going to lead us to. Who knows? Hello, boy. Now, ideally, we want to get in front of him so we can have a look. Now, hopefully, he'll find a spot where the stretch of road is long enough and doesn't curve too much that we're actually able to just sit behind him. Let me pull off the road over here. Now, if you look very carefully on his back left leg, you'll notice there's an injury of some sort of just below his tail. If you go up a little bit on his hind quarter, there we go. Can you see that just on the edge? It looks like an abscess or something has burst. Can you see that? It looks like it's quite swollen too, and there's a big hole. So that's actually quite typical to see on elephants and most of the animals out here. Something as small as a thorn piercing through the skin and then breaking off can cause infection quite easily. And then of course what an abscess does is it just forms like a cyst-like thing around well, whatever it doesn't like, and try to protect the rest of the body. And it looks like it actually has burst at some point, and something like that really won't affect an elephant, and they're quite resilient and move through. Yes, we can't be too far behind this breeding herd of elephants. Fresh dung just in the road. You can see the urine on the ground, and that's not from this elephant bull either. It's covered in insects already, but maybe he's going to lead us to a whole lot of elephants. Right, let me just call. I need to maybe call the sighting in. Let's put back to channel 5 again. Though it seems to be quite quiet on the radio today. I wonder if everybody's not in the east looking at something. I know that Shadow was found yesterday in the... Where was she found? In Shirley's somewhere. So that's where the guides were all yesterday morning, and that's apparently why we had the lion sighting all to ourselves. Sorry, boy, sorry, I won't get close. Now, he just showed an agitation sign there. Did you all see how he moved his tail? He pulled it to the side. So that's him very subtly saying, hey, Taylor, you're getting a little bit too close. Sorry, my boy, I didn't mean to do that. So we shall now keep our distance quite a bit. Just because he's being very much relaxed with us and tolerating us driving behind him. When he shows just the smallest sign, there's no need to continue upsetting the animal. So where we can, we'll actually try and get in front of him and view him from the front. I think he'll be a bit more relaxed with us, that he can walk and watch us from a distance rather than having to turn his head all the time. Now, DT... No, I don't even know. I can't... Rebecca, please can I have that name again? DT... Beth or Bex or... Oh, Geeky, not even DT, I'm saying it wrong. I'm Beth. Geeky Beth, there we go. Thank you. Teamwork this morning. Sometimes it's hard to hear the names over the radio. It doesn't always come across the clearest. You're wondering if elephants are prone to getting infections between the wrinkles. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, actually. Elephants are fairly clean. I mean, even in terms of the amounts of ticks that they have on their bodies, is actually quite small. It's not too bad at all. So no, I don't think so. I mean, those wrinkles are important. It increases the surface area and actually helps keep them cool. Sort of the little shadows between the wrinkles. We're going to have to... I've picked up a tree of some sort, I think. Yes. Let me see if I can get it undone. I won't be able to get out and take it out with this elephant here. Yes, there's the tree. There's the culprit. That is what was hiding underneath the car. How dare it? A bit of marula that the elephants were chewing on. The tracks are getting fresher and fresher. And as Stef was saying earlier, these big bulls will just walk, and particularly the must bulls will just walk from herd to herd. But it doesn't mean that these bulls that aren't in must won't do the same thing. So they do also constantly. That's what a bull does, is they go off once they're old enough and they live their life as solitary. They eat, and while they're eating, instead of the girls who are constantly following routes, trying to look for better grazing, better, cleaner water sources, they're quite busy. The boys, they're just following up on the breeding herds. And then by doing that as well, it also leads them, of course, to better grazing, to better drinking facilities. But he's not in any hurry. He doesn't have that typical must bull swagger which we normally see. He's lovely. Quite young. I would say he's probably just coming into his 30s. I think he's in his late 20s, maybe his early 30s. Righty, everybody, we're going to keep following this elephant. What we need to do now is we need to send you across to the dam cam very quickly. We're going to be 2 minutes, and then you'll be back with us. So stay tuned. Maybe go make yourself a cup of tea, but we'll see you shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Now, apologies for sending you across to the dam cam. Hopefully you had a couple of interesting birds to have a look at. Now, the reason why we had to send you across to dam cam is because our massive repeaters that we have out here are all solar run. So they have massive batteries which are charged up by the sun. And when we have these overcast, cloudy mornings, sometimes they don't get the charge that they need and they run quite low. So that's what's happened. So very quickly, I think it was Alex O'Connor raced towards the gyro repeater just to replace the batteries, and well, here we are now. So we have to do these types of things out here often. Now, I'm confused because I was following this elephant bull, and he's gone one way, but there's lots of elephant dung and tracks going down this road. So what we will do, I wanted to actually go and find the breeding herd, but I've changed my mind. Let's maybe see where this bull is going to take us. So we'll just catch up to him. He turned off of the road and he went along through this thicket, so we should get him out here. Let's see if we can spot that massive animal. What do you think, Liam? There's elephant tracks and dung all over. Can I see him? Is that him? Am I seeing him? Nope, that's a tree. I can hear him. Yes, I can see him in there now. He's eating a marula tree. Let's find a gap. A very small gap through there. But there he is. He's just stopped for a little nibble. I think he's now given up. Maybe the breeding herd has given him a run around too, because we've got tracks coming down from the east, then also from the south, and they all seem to be going either north or west. So it's a bit difficult to try and pick up. So perhaps he's just munching away to get some brain power, so he can try and figure out exactly as to what to do. Oh, wonderful. What we're going to do is we're not going anywhere. We're going to follow this elephant bull for most of the morning. But Stef has found something very exciting.
I wouldn't call it so much exciting as a bit morbid. And we've got a honeybee here. This is an African honeybee with their pollen sacs on their feet, or on its feet, just absolutely bursting. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this honeybee was because this week, for the first time in the history of this planet, at least while humans have been so dependent on honeybees, there's a species of honeybee that's been added to the endangered species list. The rusty-backed bumblebee in the US has just been added to the endangered species list. Now, to put it into perspective, honeybees are responsible for pollinating, just like you saw that honeybee there, moving from flower to flower, covered in the pollen of other grasses. They're responsible for pollinating a lot of plants out here, and for the most part, they're responsible for pollinating all of the grasses that we see as food. And in some cases, for tomatoes, for instance, they are the sole pollinators of tomatoes. So just think about every time you have a nice sandwich with a bit of tomato on it, or a nice salad with some tomato in it, that's because of the actions of bees. And because of climate change, because of pesticides, because of habitat destruction, etc., etc., honeybee populations across the globe are in decline. And for the first time, a study has conclusively shown that a particular species of honeybee has been added to the endangered species list, which is a worry. What can you do about this global phenomenon? Well, it's about the same as trying to stop a comet. I don't think there's much that we can do, except for one thing. plant a bunch of indigenous trees if you can, plant a bunch of indigenous grasses if you can, and make sure that interspersed amongst some of your plants are natural insect repellents. So plants that are naturally repellent to insects, insect pests. That should reduce the need for you to spray your garden with pesticides, and hopefully will save 1 or 2 more bees for 1 or 2 more years longer. All right. But what we're going to try and do is find 2 woodland kingfisher that were just making their way across this gap over here. And the reason for that is very similar to how the impala are going into the rut, and how we are, well, not seeing any more of the Wahlberg's eagle or lesser spotted eagles around. The seasons are changing right here, right now. And these woodland kingfishers will be the last few days that we can actually show them to you before they disappear until December again. So that's what we're going to try and do, is show you woodlands kingfisher. In the meantime, we're going to send you off to Byron for an update.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Sorry about that. My name is Byron, for those of you who are just joining us, and Jandre is on camera with me. Now we have this beautiful male leopard. We followed him a little bit and he's gone off the road and into here. So we can't see him at the moment. He is in there. Let's see if Jandre can get a few spots for you. Now, this is what we've been saying for quite some time now. The bush is so thick at the moment. If these animals decide to disappear and hide in the long grass or in the bush, it's almost impossible to see them. Now, where did he go? Was he not a bit further left, Chandra? There, I think I saw movement at the bottom there. It's amazing. He's absolutely disappeared. Now what I want to show you quickly is I managed to get a picture of this leopard. Hang on. Why is it doing? It's not working. Wait, so how do you change that? Excuse me a second, some of the other guys I just want to try get in here. Affirmative, you can make your way straight in. Now, I'll try to show you a picture, but it looks like, and for those of you who do follow the spot patterns of the leopards, it looks like he's 5'5". Now, I'm not sure, I actually don't know the spot patterns, but he's got one very faint spot on the top of his right hand side of his face, so a faint spot, and then 4 very prominent spots at the bottom, and then on the left hand side of his face he also has a single faint spot at the top, and 4 very prominent ones at the bottom. The last 2 actually are joined. They smudge slightly, so they join. So those of you who know the spot patterns very well, give me an idea of who you think this is. I think it's Tingana, but let me know. The other interesting thing is this leopard has been in a fight recently. He's got a lot of scarring on his face. Looks like at least 2 or 3 claw marks down the nose, and then 1 cut above the eye. So he's been in a fight recently. That's possibly why he's walking around scent marking so much. But we'll sit here for a little while. I'm not sure if he is going to move. I hope so. Patience does pay off, but it is incredibly thick and we can't see him. I'll try and see if we move around a little bit, if we can find him. Get a view of him rather. Now, I'll sit here for a while. Let's go to Taylor, who's got some elephant to show you.
We're still with our friend over here, who we've been following for quite some time now. So now we can actually see clearly what he is eating, as he puts the marula branch into his mouth and corkscrews it around to take off the lovely, juicy, delicious bark. And I hope he's got a moist marula, because as you've seen a couple of times, I've broken off branches of marula or tried to cut through to the cambium layer, and they haven't been, well, the texture that I was hoping for, especially when I'm trying to get rid of the itchiness from the mosquito bites. And he really is a lovely bull, and he's very tolerant of us, but we're quite a distance away from him. I wonder if he perhaps isn't coming into must very, very slowly, though. You can start to see that secretion from the temporal gland. However, please remember that this isn't the only way to tell if an elephant is in must, and often it isn't even a way, because you see it with young elephants, even little babies, only a couple of months old, will start to secrete that substance from the temporal gland. It's an overstimulation of adrenaline. So he could be a bit stressed, he could be a bit excited, but I think with all the must bulls at the moment, perhaps he is coming into must. Now, Pradeep, you're wondering if there are any other animals that display must. No, I've never read about any other animals besides elephants showing must. So I think it'll just be the elephant species. So again, Asian elephant will be exactly the same. But other than that, no, not so much. We don't really see anything else out here that is as obvious. And we just then look at their behavior when they start to get a bit excited. I'm actually surprised that we're seeing him feeding on marula branches and the cambium layer at such an early stage in the year. Because as winter comes and a lot of this grass disappears and all the very tasty leaves fall off of the trees, there isn't much for them to feast on. And I think that I'd be eating as much grass as I could and leaves as I could, and then will resort to having to eat the marula trees only when I really have to, because they go for long, long periods of just eating the cambium layer off of trees. But perhaps he's lacking something. Maybe there's a nutrient, something specific that is found in the marulas and the marula trees, and that's what he's craving, which would then, of course, also explain why he's feeding on them. Or maybe he's just got a craving and needs to satisfy that craving. We can really only just speculate. VM, can I please just show everybody all the ants? Look at all these ants. I'll show you. We'll go back to the elephant. He's not going anywhere just yet.
Why did you bring your ants with?
I brought my ants with me this morning. These are them from my room. They live with me in my bed, as you can see. Now, these are those little safari ants, the little red ones. And they are working hard. What are they doing to that one? Helping it pull its head off. I don't know. Ooh, that's interesting behavior. It's obviously quite tiny, and I have to squint my eyes even on the monitor to have a look as to what's going on. Let me get a closer look here. I don't know if it's maybe died or has been injured somehow from something in the car. I don't know what that could be. And I wonder if they're going to just take it back. See, ants are very much not wasteful. So I've heard stories of termites actually taking, half squash termites or ones that have died back into the fungus gardens and actually just depositing them there. And I suppose that's good. It's good for the soil. If they are trying to grow anything, it's great. But they're everywhere at the moment, and hopefully they don't bother us too much. But I'm really hoping they go down onto the floors, because there are plenty of, that looks like a big soldier actually. It looks like quite a big ant, a big robust head, and lots of little insects that they can take back with them. Now, Batten's cockatoo, wondering if we have bullet ants. I think we do have something similar, if I'm not mistaken. You know who the best person to ask is? Stef. He is really unbelievably full of knowledge when it comes to ants. I don't know if he's done a lot of ant watching as his time as a kid right through to an adult, but we'll ask him. But I think I've heard something about something being similar to bullet ants. But I love these little ones. These, I think, are my favorite. They're busy. They're always doing lots of different things. They're always excited. Coming through your kitchen, picking up all those half-eaten insects or crumbs that you've left on the ground, and I think that's what they're doing in the car. Probably all the crumbs from the snacks that I had in here. Hey, VM, doing a good job. But, speaking of the man himself, who is very much talented when it comes to identifying and, facts about insects, let's go across to Stef now.
Thank you very much for the compliment, Taylor. So just to answer Taylor's question about bullet ants, we don't have bullet ants in so far as ants here that cause catastrophic pain if they sting you, but we definitely do have stinging ants here, and if you are allergic to bees and wasps, it's definitely not something that you want to get stung by. We have slender ants here. We also have the African hissing ant that can produce pretty potent stings. A few other South African ants, but not to the degree that you have your bullet ants or your fire ants. We don't have ants that are that bad here, luckily. What we're looking at here, though, is something that will quite gleefully feed on some ants. This is an orb-web spider. I'm not too sure exactly which orb-web spider this is. And we're busy trying to feed her some of the flies that are infesting us this morning. We each, myself and Craig and Rexon, probably have a host of about 10 flies each that are just driving us insane, and we've managed to donate 3 of them to this spider's breakfast menu, which I'm very glad for. You can see what she's done is she's immobilized them. In this particular species of orb spider, she bites them and then she very quickly wraps them up in a very tight, very sheer silk and leaves them in place. This is different to the orb spiders that we've seen in other segments where we had a green orb spider, and also different to what we see the giant spiders do, the golden orb spider and the garden orb spider. They tend to bite their prey and then carry it to the center of their web. This particular spider, she's just bitten them and then left them, probably so that the venom can do its job and completely immobilize the fly. And then we'll see what she does. I can't see any larder, not at least in her web. So my feeling is she probably takes the flies or whatever she's managed to catch at some point when it reaches a volume that she's happy with. She'll take it away from her web and she'll come and store it on the plant. In actual fact, if we follow the plant up to here, you will see that there is her larder there. So right there, that point, that is her larder. So she absolutely does that. She waits for her to have enough breakfast, and then what she'll do is she will bring in her prey and sit on the leaf, where she's going to be a lot safer from being stepped on or stepped through by whatever animals are in this particular environment. Right now, though, she's having a quick snack. You can see she's busy feeding on this particular Feather Beautiful, you've just said you feel very sorry for the fly. Feather Beautiful, I wish I could share your sentiment, but flies out here are absolutely infuriating last year and this year. With the drought we've had this massive increase in fly numbers here, and they're at a point here where I'd gladly sacrifice half of the flies I have around me to spiders just to increase their numbers again. They really took a hammering, spiders, last year and the year before with the drought, and their numbers are at an all-time low. I can't remember a time in the 18 years I've been guiding here, even in dry times, where we've had as fewer spiders as we've had in the last 24 months here. So my sympathies, unfortunately, this year lie with the spider and not the fly, but that might change in years to come. Now, although I can hear a woodland kingfisher calling in the background, I'm actually going to ask my colleagues for some help in trying to get you a picture, a nice picture, a screenshot of the woodland kingfisher. And just like you need to keep a screenshot of, or keep a record of the first day we're seeing woodland kingfishers, which usually happens in the beginning of December sometime, I would suggest that we also start keeping a record of the last day we see woodland kingfishers. They're just such a fantastic indicator for me of summertime. They arrive when summer starts and they end when summer finishes, and it doesn't have to be a particular date. For me, it's always the marker, the biological marker. Of course, I have my dates where I prefer summer, like we all do, but Mother Nature doesn't think in terms of our references of time. But for me, it would be when the woodland kingfishers arrive, summer starts. When the woodland kingfishers leave, summer finishes, and we're in those last few days. So definitely get yourselves a screenshot, and I challenge my co-presenters to help you with that particular task over the next couple of days. All right, we're going to send you over to Byron, who's been trying to get a better view of Tingana for you.